Okay, so at this stage, everyone, what I'm gonna do is basically just eliminate more of the excess, right? Because I don't need to show the information that's too far beyond 75. So maybe I'll just bring it down to say 82. So that gives us just 7 degrees off of what we had. So if we had 68, then we're going to go 7 degrees down to 61. So I'll change this to 61. Yeah. This one, what did I say, 82?
Yeah. Wait, why are you changing the temperature?
So that yeah, so that I can get something that's a little more clear and that the disparity is something I can really analyze.
So it's pretty much like zooming into the actual graph, right?
Yeah, yeah. And then the other thing that we can do is change the color, basically the colorization of the graph itself, right? So what we have here is a gray value that we can modify and pull in either direction. We can make duplicates of that gray value and then kind of make the range of gray be the more analytical range, or we could change the color altogether. If I want to stick with gray, I think I will. Oh, I crashed it again. I did this last time. There we go. I keep crashing this.
Are you baking it?
Because you're still connected to the...
Yeah.
No, I'm not baking it.
Yes.
Make sure your layer might be on.
Oh, yes.
Off.
What did I say the hotkey was to drop one in? I always forget.
Right click.
Oh, move it up.
I don't take it. No, I'll take it away.
Oh.
You double click it.
What are you trying to do?
Yeah, that's what I was doing.
You click it.
What are you trying to do? Drop another color?
Yeah.
Click on the little corner. Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Thank you. I always forget that. So,
Don't let you edit it. It pisses me off.
yeah, that's really getting to me here.
No, you gotta go back to it. No, exit that.
Yeah.
And then right click the dot.
This is one I don't use enough, clearly.
Just because of Fresno. Yeah, you knew it.
Yeah.
Good job, Fresno.
All right. So, so guys, this is what we can do here, right? So we change the color and change the range of gray or whatever color you're analyzing with, right? So you just change the range to be one that all the gray areas are showing you more proportionally. And so proportion is really the key here, right? So you try to carry the colorization of this, graph so that it will clearly as you can, delineate the range that you're trying to show, right? So it's really kind of just a process of isolating it with this. So you can pull these out.
So did we do 2 grays?
You can do 5 grays if you want. It's up to you.
How do you make a duplicate of
Just change the color.
You gotta drag it down. It's not great. I don't like the system.
What the?
I'm so confused. You like the gradient? Harrison. That's it. Are you gonna show me yours? How do you make a copy of that?
And it's really slow if you have it calculating. If you don't want to have it calculating. Yeah.
Another one?
Okay. So this is what I landed on. It might not be exactly the same for you, but this is what I landed on. So I basically made so I've got a black node with a gray node, then I've got a gray node with a red node. And I pulled them together to a point where if you look over here, the graph is showing me at around 68, it gets closer to a solid gray. And then through about 75, it stays gray. Now, is this exact? No. Just because of the nature of having this sort of gradient here. Thanks. Like I said before, and this is kind of a recurring theme, these are representative of the information that we're trying to analyze. So now let's take a look at the graph that we're really analyzing here. And we can make some assumptions off of it. Can we not?
It's hot a lot. Or it's cold a lot.
Right. So if our range of comfort, and you might not know it in this term yet or in these terms yet, but our range that I set, 68 to 75, that's our delta T, I believe. So, well, that's not going to be the delta T, but that's going to be our indoor air temperature that we're trying to design our systems for. So the temperature outside, the delta T is to get it within this range. So that's the difference between the temperature outside and the nearest desirable indoor air temperature, right? And you'll learn more about this as you progress and learn more about heating and cooling systems. But in this diagram, anything that's black is going to be a time of the year that you need some kind of heating. Right? And it doesn't have to be much. In fact, a lot of the heating here, because the temperature doesn't really get that far below 65, a lot of that heating is really just radiant heating that just kind of heats the place up out of this, the sunlight. So on the cooling side, the red areas are the areas that we're going to need active cooling. Right? So it's not going to be cool enough to be comfortable without some sort of external factor. Or internal factor, I should say, that we introduce as designers. Now, what we can delineate from this diagram itself is that we have periods where we have a large, and particularly in this one, we have a large demand for cooling in one of the periods. And then we have, in some of the monthly periods, we have almost no demand for cooling and a great deal of demand for heating. Does that make sense? So our task is going to be analyzing these diagrams to identify when and where we're going to need those systems. So to start off, we're going to have to analyze the windrows, right? So that's going to be the next phase we go into here. We're going to be looking at the windrows to figure out if we're going to use wind as a cooling, as a cooling agent. Then we're going to have to identify when do we need to cool. Because for those of you who have used Climate Consultant or whatever software you probably know by now, I'm pretty sure it only gives you the whole year. Can you delineate certain time frames for that?
For what?
Climate control?
Yeah. For Climate Consultant, I haven't used it.
Which graph? Like
The windrows.
the windrows? I believe you
I'm
can.
not sure.
Might be able to. But anyway, we're going to use the windrows to help us identify that. And then, more importantly, we're going to produce it into a graphic that shows it clearly. Okay? So what questions do you have? None? All right, let's move on.